Good morning, all, and welcome to another episode of the Risking It All podcast. We are delighted to be joined today by Malcolm. He is the founder and managing director of GMG Energy Limited.
Well, I'm going to unfortunately correct you straight away.
God, I've no.
But don't worry about it. GMG Energy Limited.
GMG Energy Limited. My apologies.
Not at all.
And you've came quite the distance to join us today. So, firstly, thank you for getting yourself up bright and breezy and down into not so sunny Glasgow today, unfortunately. So, as we like to do with all our guests, Malcolm, we like to take it back to where it all began. So, as we say in Scotland, tell us a bit about where are you fae? What was your childhood and upbringing like? Family dynamics? Just share as much as you're willing to share, mate.
Well, it was a wee bit of deja vu this morning, coming back into Abercrombie Street, Bridgeton, because I was born in Duke Street.
Ah, right, okay.
In the hospital there, obviously. And my father used to work in Tobago Street in the police station, and this was his beat.
Right, okay.
So we started off our life, believe it or not, in Easterhouse.
Right.
And we were in a police house there. And then my dad said to me one day, he says, we're needing to move. He says, because there's more criminals in this street than there is policemen. So that was his local knowledge. So we moved to the West End, and I went to Kelvindale Primary School. And then I went to the Old Girls High School, which became Clevedon Secondary.
Right, okay.
And the reason we ended up there is obviously the West End's a good place to live. The schooling was good. But my parents, my father was from Lewis and my mother was from Sutherland. So these connections as we go on will become, prevalent. But it's the old Highland meets at the dances in Glasgow and get married.
Right, okay.
I was born and brought up in Glasgow.
And I might be showing my age here, right? But you mentioned that you lived in a police house. I have no idea what that is. I could probably guess, but help me fill in the blanks.
Well, we were in Edelwood Road in Easterhouse, and it was a block of flats, and I think there was 3 on one side were police houses, and then the council owned the other. And in these days, the policemen got their accommodation.
Ah, right, okay.
And we even got our shoes from Gordon Street,
right,
and
okay.
We got them free. So there was a lot of perks being a policeman in Glasgow. So that was the benefits that we had initially. So then my mother and father obviously took a mortgage and decided to move into the West End just to give us the best start we could.
Yeah. And do you have brothers and sisters?
I've got a brother. He lives in Harrogate. He's a lawyer.
Right.
Went to school together. He was much smarter than me. And he was been involved recently in the Grenfell Tower because he's in property law.
Ah, right, okay.
But no, he has a different direction than myself.
Right, okay. And did you get on when you were younger?
That's a very good question. We got on better at school than we do now, probably. There's always that rivalry, isn't there?
Yeah. All right, interesting. And what were you like in school? Were you a bit of a toe rag, or did you like it but it just wasn't quite for you?
No, I would have said school suited me.
Yeah, good.
Really enjoyed it. Primary school was really quite special, good friends. And then I went to Clevedon Secondary, and I have to say that's where my life plan began, and also where my education on how to work with people from different dynamics, because we were mixed with a couple of primary schools from Maryhill and the West End. So there was a diverse population.
Right, okay.
So it gave you a lot of life learning, and I think that really helped me in the business and, your life knowledge.
And see that integration as a family into the West End of Glasgow, that would probably really be a better place, right? Because there's a massive connection with the Highlanders and the Islanders, and the West End of Glasgow still to this day really is quite famous for that community, isn't it?
Really is, John. And I spent, majority of my time playing sports and being in the Boys Brigade and doing all these things which were like 3 times a week. We're really busy kids. And the only other thing we had time for was our schoolwork and, doing positive things.
Yeah.
Which is really, close to my heart, because children now need to be doing much more activity, much more things to test their minds, rather than having screen operations and other things, that we all talk about.
Yep. I know. So I've got a 7-year-old, and I was going to say we grapple with that a lot. We actually don't. We did once upon a time, and then I have a wee whinge to John every now and then about how you just become a full-time taxi driver with work, because it's club on a Monday, club on a Tuesday, club on a Thursday, club on a Friday night. But actually give me that over, I know some other parents that really struggle getting the screen away for their kids, because they just love that being online and playing games. But I do definitely share the concern of a lot of parents on that front, because when I think about my own childhood, I just was never in the house, ever. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It feels like it was a good thing.
I think it was very good, but now we're so heavily influenced by it all, and I have to keep turning to everybody else for help.
Aye.
Because I'm right in that generation who just missed quite a bit.
Aye.
And my children have to have a lot of patience with me.
Aye.
I do really see the benefits now. I mean, it can help you so much.
Aye.
And there's so much. But I think it's like everything else. You have to have a balance.
You do, aye.
And if we can get the balance right, which isn't easy, it can help business and it can help personally.
Aye, absolutely. And I empathise with that as well. Essentially, my third gig, if you like, after business owner and part-time taxi driver, is IT support for my own parents who I've got problems getting into my bank, or I'm trying to pay my council tax online and I can't figure it out, and it's no worries, I'll jump in and help you. Hi all, sorry to interrupt the podcast. We'll get back in just 30 seconds. This podcast is brought to you by Jolly Media Marketing. If you are a business owner and you're looking to grow your brand and generate more leads, then Jolly Media Marketing can help your business do exactly that. Our team focuses on video-first paid advertising. We create engaging content and we promote that using targeted campaigns that will consistently bring in new customer inquiries. We also help businesses with SEO and GEO, which is generative engine optimization, helping AI search engines like ChatGPT and Gemini find your brand. We also arrange podcast appearances, PR, out-of-home advertising using billboards, and organic LinkedIn strategy consultancy. All designed to help your brand be seen and help new customer inquiries arrive into the business every single week. To learn more about how we help businesses grow and to see if we can do the exact same for your local business, go and visit our website at www.jollymediamarketing.com. Speak to you soon. All right, so you were well behaved in school by the sounds of things.
I would say on the majority.
Yeah.
I can't say that I was a purist at everything.
All right.
I did get into some wee bits of bother, but nothing that's affected me lifelong.
Right, good. And was there any after education, after high school? Did you go to college or uni?
Yes, it was interesting. I went to Glasgow University. I actually qualified for Aberdeen and Edinburgh, and I wanted to do agriculture because this is my link to my grandparents.
Right.
Because my grandparents on my father's side were crofters from Lewis, and then my mother's side were farmers and crofters in Sutherland. And I spent every holiday there. So I went to Glasgow University to do agricultural economics.
Right.
And really enjoyed it. But unfortunately my stay was short, and it wasn't because I failed my exams, it was because my mum's brother, who was very close to my uncle, died very suddenly, and the farm then my grandmother was on her own, and I had to take a year out and start farming to help the business.
Right, okay.
So I moved from the west end of Glasgow, a flat off Byres Road, into a remote area 20 miles from Thurso, on the north coast.
Right.
And we had our first winter was one of the worst winters ever, and we were snowed in for 4 weeks.
Oh, God.
So it was a difficult and challenging start. Mm-hmm. So we started off with 300 or 400 ewes and 20 cows, and I moved in with my granny. Mm-hmm. So that had its restrictions as well. So as a young man, I had all the freedom of university, and then I settled. And I thought, right, I'm going to give this a year and see how it goes, and then I'll go back to university, finish my degree, and move on. But that never happened because I became a full-time farmer and met a local girl up there, got married and had children. And I developed my business and grew my business. And my wife worked at Dounreay Atomic Power Station, and she was in IT. And I carried on farming for 15 years. But it was such a challenge initially. But when you win that challenge, you feel you're looking for more. And we were trying to think of other things to do. So I got involved in agricultural politics with NFU and represented Scotland on the livestock side in Europe and Brussels and in the world stage. And it was a great, great feeling. And I did something really unusual, because after that, I decided, well, I want to go into the corporate world and test myself amongst other people. And then I had a job with Savills, and then I had a job with the Clydesdale Bank, and then I had a job with Santander. And so I learned a lot, and that environment was there, and it was great because the rewards were high, and you were well paid. But these businesses owned you, and you had to give them everything. And if you were looking for that bit extra, you were looking for the bonus and everything else, you had to work the long hours. And there's a price for that because you spend less time with your children and everything else. So later on in life, I was quite unfortunate. I lost my wife, and she had melanoma. So that was a real challenge for us. So I was left with my two boys. And after that, I wanted to make different choices. And then I decided to take the jump and the leap and just work for myself.
Right, God, a lot to unpick there, right? I want to actually take you back to your entry point into farming. So it's a shame, to be honest, that it's this business partner and no other that sat at the table today. Our other business partner, Barry, worked for the NFU for many years before starting the agency that we're now partnered in together. So he knows a lot about farming, certainly in comparison to me, who's just a village boy and knows not a huge amount about it. But tell us a bit about what it's like to be a farmer, or the business of farming, from an outsider's perspective, from a purist desk jockey's perspective. Yeah. It seems like the hardest gig on planet Earth. But tell us a bit about how you found it.
I think if we look at it purely from agriculture, it is a joy. You are your own boss, but it can be very lonely. Mm-hmm. But if you want to get on well, it's like people think, if you want to be in the top 10% of agriculture and really doing a good job, you got to focus on it, just like you do in other businesses. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, some people don't, and they actually do make it a way of life, and they actually don't look at the return on capital, and they don't look at how much money they're making. Mm-hmm. They just really enjoy being a farmer, and I can understand that. I really do. But after a couple of years having an apprenticeship with my grandmother, I then said, right, we need to change this, and we've got to look at other ways of making money. So we started doing a bit of housing development, holiday cottages. Then there was a lot going on in our area where there was a lot of tree planting, and there was a lot of Christmas trees growing. And a lot of my peers around me were cutting Christmas trees down and earning a lot of cash. And then I said to myself, well, if they're earning a lot of cash, who's really making the money? So then we started planting Christmas trees. And then, okay, it's a long-term investment. It was 7 years. And then we've got other forestry interests. But then we started getting a return on that investment. And then I was always looking at ways of investing, using that capital, because most farmers are very asset rich and cash poor. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to be, I wanted to be asset rich and cash wealthy. And that has really driven me being a farmer. I started there at a young age, and I said, come on, let's get this cash moving in the business. Instead of waiting for money coming, let's drive some money through our own business.
That's interesting, actually, because even me 2 minutes ago, I've said, sounds like the hardest business in it. I think when you talk about farming, you automatically just jump to like the the actual activity of it rather than the business of it, if that makes sense. Sorry, I don't know if I cut across you there.
No, not at all. But I think that on a summer's day, or lambing or calving, when things are going well, it's fantastic, and you're getting a return from it. It's market driven, and it's supply and demand, and I think it's a fantastic life to have. But you want to have, for that effort and return, you want to be able to enjoy a balance in life, and it's important you do that. And I think I looked at it purely as a business and focused on that hard, but enjoyed it at the same time. And then once I had a taste for all that, I wanted to do other things as well. But everybody makes choices in life, and some people are dedicated to farming, and that's what they want to do, and I respect them for that. And I think one thing we must do is respect any working man, regardless of what disciplined commodity they're in, whether they're a dairy farmer, they're a beef and sheep farmer, a poultry farmer. Anybody who's working hard and delivering a quality product deserves that. But in life, that's one lesson I've learned, really, is that to respect working people.
Yeah. It's really interesting. You picked up that, pretty much immediately when you, took on that journey of looking at the farm as it is just now as an asset, but then developing that by what you said there is looking at different peers, looking at different dynamics that's happening around about you, and then kind of having that entrepreneurial spirit there, I guess, to say we could also do that, but possibly we could do it a wee bit better as well.
I think I'm a true believer when you make that point, John, about benchmarking. And in one of my jobs I had with Savills, we did a lot of benchmarking and group structure and business learning. And I thought that was fantastic because I was getting individuals to open up. And we had 12 in the group, and we'll be talking about things, and it was all about giving them more confidence, establishing what they were really good at, but then trying to understand what they weren't so good at, and actually opening up their business, their paperwork, their accountancy, and actually saying, this is what we are good at. How do we get better? And one or two would say to me, well, I don't want to be the 12th member of this group with the lowest accounts or the lowest, results. But I said, you've come into this, so you must be in the top 5%, 10% of this agricultural industry. So you're not really low, but you're trying to get better and actually share that knowledge. That knowledge transfer is so important. The mistakes I've made in business, well, there isn't a room big enough to put them all in. But then when you make some successes, sometimes they can reap great rewards. And that's sharing that. And I was always about learning and making people better and actually rewarding them for that.
Aye.
So was that the proper first kind of commercial engagement you had from the farming to Savills then? And what was Savills' involvement? Was that land acquisition, estate management?
It was all about, the department I was working in was like landed estates and farming and farm management, but also we were taking it to the next step in partnership with Scottish Enterprise to actually bring groups of people together to actually open their minds, open the idea of learning, and actually looking at the dynamics of their business and making it better and actually getting them to understand the return on capital. Mm-hmm. Every other business looks at that, the time invested, instead of having an asset and not leveraging it. And if you can leverage it and manage it, you can actually get a greater return rather than doing what I always done. Well, my dad did it this way. My grandpa did it this way.
Aye.
And my great-grandpa did it this way, so we're not going to change it. And entrepreneurs don't have any barriers. They're only looking at successes and actually ways forward, which is really important.
Yep. And you may have covered this, so apologies if I'm asking you to cover all ground, but that step of running the farm for 15 years and then stepping into Savills, was that brought around by the tragic loss of your wife? Did you have to step away from the farm for a period and then get back into a corporate job, or what enabled that transition?
Well, what I did was I needed a fresh start, and we needed opportunities, and I needed a change. And I really wanted to do other things because I had farm, but I wasn't giving the farm up. I put a farm manager in, worked with them, and managed it.
Right.
And I've done that now for the since 99, 2000.
Right, okay, God.
So it works for me. I'm not saying it works for everybody else, but I need to be doing several things to get my feeling of self-worth and achieving things and having more challenges. Although the people around me and my family now would like me to do less. But when I see an opportunity, I like to go after it.
Right, okay, interesting. So you got somebody in to run the gig for you, as it were, day to day, at least. That then gave you the time or capacity to go, right, what's next for me? And is that what then stepped you into Savills at that point?
It did. It gave me an opportunity there. And then that also led to working in banking, which really pushed, because I was really interested in cash flow finance and helping people. And that gave me my experiences to see a really good business and struggling businesses, and gave me the opportunity to help people and help families. You know, that was really important because, again, you know, succession planning is very weak with a lot of businesses. It doesn't matter whether you're a window cleaner, a shop owner, or anything else. You need succession. You need somebody coming after you. And in agriculture is a prime reason to see so many people holding on to the purse strings. Actually give young people the chance. I was given the chance at 19 and 20 and I didn't blow it, you know, and I think we should have more confidence in younger people, you know, to give them the lead, also put restraints in place and counterbalances, but at the same time, give them their head.
Is that a big challenge in farming, that succession planning piece? Like, I would imagine, and do correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's no many new people like setting up a farm almost. It's like a generational thing. Like, your dad was a farmer, his dad was a farmer. It's like somebody else in the family needs to take it over.
I think on the whole, you could say that. And what you have to do then now is there are some share farming opportunities now that people are getting the opportunity to work and build up capital in a business. There's different animals. It's becoming more modern. It's like taking an equity stake in a business,
right,
or taking a shareholder and buying shares. But, you know, the traditional way of land is very secured, very traditional, and you're passing it on. And that's why recently you'll have seen in the news the inheritance tax rules.
Yep.
There was a lot of people up in arms. Whereas if you go to New Zealand, you know, families will sell a farm and then the youngsters have to go and buy their own farm.
Right.
You don't have that generational thing and holding on to it. It is a challenge for young people because the capital cost now, you know, for really good land in Scotland could be anywhere from 6,000 to 10,000, 12,000 an acre. So it's big sums of money. And you've got to have a lot of support from a lot of banks to drive that forward.
And you mentioned it's been in the news in recent years, the changes to inheritance tax in particular. What's your viewpoint on that? Do you hold a particularly strong opinion on the changes that have been implemented by the government?
I think the government have got it wrong, and also you want to actually, they should look down at not taxation, but taxing us by wealth, but actually turnover and profitability, and encourage people to drive more from that capital asset, employ more people, produce better things. I think without getting into the role of politics just now, because I'm quite passionate about that as well, you've got to give people the opportunity to be entrepreneurial, to drive things forward. If you're actually reversing and actually saying, well, quarter of your business is going to basically be valued as inheritance tax, where are we going to find this money? You're actually just pulling the foundation out of the business instead of giving them the opportunity to grow it and actually grow turnover and grow the number of people employed and giving people opportunities. So to say, no, I don't agree with it.
Aye. I don't know that you're going to get much challenge on this side of the table. It just, it feels bonkers to me personally. But Aye, we'll maybe skip that subject.
It's a long subject, isn't it? It's long.
It is, and I think we're all passionate about certain things. But if you've been born on your farm, bred on your farm, and you've had generations there, it is hard to take that on board. It's like a stake through the heart, and I don't think the farming community or landed estates deserve that. I said, especially if they're employing a lot of people and producing a lot of quality product, and you want your country to be self-sufficient in producing good quality food. I mean, that's really the fundamentals of it all, and having a great countryside.
Yeah,
because Scotland's a great country, and
indeed.
It's reversing just now because of some of the things that are going on, and we're lagging behind the rest of Europe and the rest of the world, and we don't want that.
No.
Aye, absolutely. Okay, and so how long did you spend in banking in the end?
Banking, I was there for 6 or 7 years.
Right, okay.
And thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fantastic to go out and help people. It was like being a doctor of finance. And each individual had to open their books and they had to trust you. And to make sure that you could help them and support them and actually help them build their businesses and develop. I thought that was a privilege.
Aye.
And I learned so much through it, and I met a lot of fantastic people, and it helped me have the confidence to build my own businesses and not be afraid of leveraging and taking the big leap and borrowing a lot of money.
Yeah.
Big thing there. You just mentioned, I'm sure there's trust. So there was a trust with you. There was a trust with your farming community.
Yeah.
You've done it. You understand it. So
Yeah.
that trust was there. It's not someone who's just completely coming in outside of the industry. But the banks must have had a huge trust in you as well. And it must have helped the banks a lot, having individuals within that environment that has the terminology, they understand what farming is, etc. And it seems to be a nice relationship between what the banks had to offer and what your end client needed.
was. I really thought it was a privilege, Sean, and I really enjoyed it. I went through the banking crisis, and that was difficult, and all the banks regrouped because their actual asset base and everything else and their lending books were all being re-examined, and obviously, with the problems they had with the RBS and the government coming in and supporting, it affects everything. It's like just now with what's going on on the world affairs, how it's impacting us in Scotland just with the price of fuel. So there was a lot of challenges, and money became more difficult to hand out, and you had to be more careful. But, farmers farm for life, not for a short term.
Yeah.
And when they have a dip, I was always the first one to represent them with the bank, because risk had to manage the funds and the equity in the bank, and they were always challenging us as being front line. Well, do you really believe that this person can repay this money? And I said, yes, they can. And if there was any difficulties, I said there was always a way forward, because they're there every day farming. And if there was any financial times that there was difficulties, there's a way through it. And that's what nobody hid from it. And there was very, very few repossessions in agriculture or any other businesses because they were in it for the long term.
Aye. It's not like they're a pop-up window glazing company that might not be there in 4 years' time. It's like they're not going anywhere.
No, and their reputation, their credibility was the same as our own, and they didn't ever want to not be able to hold their head up locally.
Yeah.
I mean, there was plenty that, stretched, and leveraged to their full capability, and I admired them that. But I always asked them the question, if you borrow money, can you sleep at night? And if somebody said to me, I can't sleep at night with borrowed money, I says, well, we can't borrow too much then. Let's do it under a staged and managed. But I know other people who would never lose one night's sleep over it, which is a great capability to have.
Aye.
That's an amazing human touch to, what a lot of people and a lot of businesses go through just now, where credit applications are very much computer driven.
Yes.
Algorithms, yes or no. But what you just said there, that's a conversation, that's maybe a gut feel, an instinct, a feeling for a business. And then taking that to, a bank to say, actually, we're going to be fine. allow that to happen.
I think it's really interesting because we could have done a podcast online, me at another side of a screen, but the three of us are sitting here looking into each other's eyes. And it's actually, you actually get the feeling of everyone, and you can actually see what their thoughts are, their processes. And that wee bit of time's really important. And if you can give somebody, you know, as they say, the Bill Clinton moment, 3 minutes of your time and just focus on that, it's really important. I enjoyed that. It's, again, going back, it was a privilege sitting around somebody's kitchen table.
Yeah.
You know, and actually, well, you're sitting there, you've seen where their family is, they're going to the local schools. Well, come on, let's work through this.
Yeah.
Do you know, we actually, or I'll not speak for you, John, I had a moment not too dissimilar to that recently where we were down in Lincolnshire, John and I, filming with a local renewables installer. And I never actually realised it until we came back to their yard for the second time, but the house that they lived in was attached to the working yard. So they invited us into their home, came into the kitchen, made a cuppa, we sat and had a blether. And I remember vividly getting back into the car thinking, I'm going to go to war for this client to make sure that they win, because there was just something about that, like 30 minutes where you're looking into the whites of their eyes and they're telling you about the family story of the business and trying to get it going and really struggling from a marketing perspective. And like you've just said, we could have had that catch up over Zoom, over Teams. You know, we're Glaswegian there in Lincolnshire. It's no just round the corner. You know, it was the best part of 6-7 hours to get there in the old Lecky vehicles. But I absolutely left that session thinking I'll do whatever I need to do to make sure this client wins.
And not taking the podcast away, if you see that example of doing that, we could have done that in the podcast. They didn't meet our ideal client profile for many different reasons.
Yeah.
The computer would say, no, it just doesn't do that. As Brian said, we sat there, we went out with David, we were in the kitchen, we met the family, we met their clients, and something that just says, we need to help. We need to help that client. And my goodness, we're only maybe 6 weeks in, and have we helped them significantly? But that's a trust two-way thing. They trusted us, and we trusted them, and it just worked brilliantly. But I just love that story. I think it puts a human touch to a decision.
We were talking about this before the podcast as well, or maybe it was just after it started, right? We live in a world where technology enables us to meet people in inverted commas so easily, no effort really involved. So I think it is quite easy to just fall into that trap of no getting it, shaking hands, seeing people. In our world especially, where we're an online business. But I think we use that to try and stand out as well. It's like, we want to come and see you, we want to sit down with you, we want to shake your hands, because I don't know, I'm with you can read the room, I guess, when you're sat across for somebody. And
all my main customers that I have, I always go and meet them. I always talk to them, because I do want to see what they're thinking, how they're acting, so that I can understand it. Because in business, you can do a lot of transactions, and I've got a very robust credit control, and I want, if somebody isn't actually paying me for the service I've delivered and I've met everything they've asked for, if they can't, I just want to talk to them and say, have we got a problem here? Is there any issues? Or do I need a wee bit longer to pay? And once or twice, when you have that communication, and I've had these conversations with people who've said, I'm going to be maybe 3 or 4 weeks late, Malcolm, no problem. And I just say, that's fine, you've told me.
Aye.
And I really do like to understand. And when I have quite a few people employed by me, I always think, right, if something's not going right, why is it not going right? Because it's unusual. What's going on in that chap's life or lady's life? Let's try and get to the bottom of it, because you're doing a robust, fantastic job for me. All of a sudden, wheels are falling off, and you don't know what's going on in their life. Everybody else is easy to judge. If they continue it without, when you have a chat and everything else, you say to them, you've got to lift your game. But I find it's important to have that human touch and actually speak to people. And everybody who works for me's got my number. I'm not with them every single day, but they can phone me, and I will talk to them,
Good. And so it feels like we're getting to that point where you've maybe got back to thinking, right, I'm going to risk it all here and leave the corporate world and get back into the business world. Can you remember what was it that got you thinking before you made that leap? I want to step back into business, I miss it.
Well, I think it was just the fact I was seeing other people doing it, taking the risk, and I just thought to myself, you're ready for it. It's time to go. And the opportunity came along, and the first big opportunity that came along was obviously the renewable heat initiative that came along, and we were looking at. I had a lot of forestry, and had grown my Christmas trees. I understood it, and we decided to go into biomass and start drying wood and then start selling it. And so there was one or two opportunities came up, and I was very lucky because I was in banking. I actually I had a different bank that I didn't work for that was lending me the money, and who was my bank for my farming businesses.
Right, okay.
And I sat down with them, and they did say to me, well, if it wasn't for the fact that you had been in banking, we wouldn't be taking this risk.
Right, okay.
So I was very fortunate, and I was that credibility part, John, helped me able to raise the money for it. So I did take, as you say, risking it all, but I did take good advice from a couple of, mentors I had in life. I had a very good lawyer, I had a very good accountant, and sat with them and said to them, this is what I'm planning, what do you think? And they told me to go for it. And it's been a challenge ever since. And but what I've done is, we've worked extremely hard as a group of people that have helped me. And over the last 10 years, we've borrowed the money and we've repaid it. And we've repaid it early. And now we have separate challenges. We're doing reinvestment. And but we've overcome these challenges, and there were several. And not everybody likes to see you being successful. And that is something that I didn't really expect. Especially from my neighbours and other things and other people. But we're there and enjoying it. And it's...
And so tell us a bit, you touched on it there, just in terms of what the business actually does. Is it producing wood chips that fuel biomass boilers? Well, or is there a bit more to it?
No, there's a bit more to that. We have a really unique biomass system, but adjacent to that, I have a sawmill, and for this business, and it's we started off doing very basic items, but now we're doing a lot of housing, wood, for cladding and more higher value premium products.
Right. Okay.
But what I've done is I've created a circular economy. Because we've developed it. We do have a big biomass boiler that just uses chip, but I use the waste from the sawmill to drive the biomass boilers that has drying floors, which I do dry chip with. And then I also have created a bit of an engineering delight. We created a huge tumble dryer for drying our sawdust, and we're making briquettes with it. So fundamentally, if I had to go back again, I would say, could somebody up there please make trees square? Because when they're round, we nearly have about 45% waste off it. So there's a lot of ways to think about it. And that's been my nemesis in business, is waste. So if you can actually make money from waste, you're actually, the rest is a piece of cake, So that's what I've focused on. And the people involved with me are all working and contributing to the business. So I'm very proud of what we've achieved, and we've reinvested, and we're delivering all over Scotland now, because we started off in the north of Scotland in the basis of my farm. And it's a bit like the point you made. The business is there. It's on the farm. We're not going anywhere. And anybody who comes to do business with can see what we're doing.
Yep.
And I've had great support from the Highland Chamber of Commerce. I've had great support from Highlands and Highlands Enterprise, and I've had limited support from the planners, because they're a challenge, because I'm a challenge for them. But we've come through all that together, and now we've got a business with a good turnover, and it's good to see the people enjoying it. And we've had an apprentice through the business as well. And, you know, I get excited by it.
Yeah. Good. That I was just going to say there, the type of business that you've created, try to envision it in my own head almost. And, you know, as part of the podcast, we can maybe even flash up a few images of your facility. But did you have to borrow like large sums of money, if you don't mind me asking, to get that off the ground and get going?
Over 7 figures.
Wow.
And but as I've said, I planned it properly, and I repaid everybody before I paid myself. That's your golden rule. Bank first and all your men.
Yeah.
And if you can, and anybody else that you owe money to, you must do that to keep your credibility going.
I mean, I just want to pause for a minute there, right? Because we're also in business and have a fairly high appetite for risk. But that, I think I audibly gasped when I heard that there. And you spoke earlier about some people can just put their head in the pillow at night and be fine with that. I guess being in banking for a while possibly helped, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. How were you able, before the businesses even got going, to borrow that and put your head in the pillow at night and get a good night's kip?
Well, because my family gave me a farm, and instead of getting a return on capital of 2 and 3%, I was going to get a return on capital of 14 and 15%. So I leveraged the farm. I never leveraged any of our homes. That's one golden rule I would say to everybody: don't put your house on the line. You've got a family, you've got a wife or kids and everything else. Don't ever do that. But I thought this is a sensible thing to do, and you know what you're doing. You're going to make a go of it, and you're going to achieve your goals. Now, you've got to believe in yourself. And I can tell you I had a few challenges on the road, no question about it, and things have gone wrong, but you've got to just keep going. I could... once your money starts coming in, then you can start reinvesting and making it better, because the first thing that I envisaged in doing was the biomass, the wood chip, the sawdust, but I've grown at arms and legs. And I use it a wee bit because we're in the north of Scotland, everybody expects, oh, you're going to compete with everybody else that's around you. Well, I actually went further north, and I deliver wood and logs and everything else into Orkney, which doesn't have any trees.
Right.
You know, so I look at, I'm not worried about competition. I think that's healthy. And people say to me, oh, well, he's doing that. I says, good luck to him. But he's got to commit to it. He's got to deliver it. And we've expanded the business, and I've taken more people on. So I think, you know, you've just got to keep at it. And also you've got to look at professional help where you can. When we were talking earlier about some of our contemporaries, you know, it's funny, I had a meeting with looking at customer management systems to make my business more efficient. It's all about the efficiencies of it. It's very easy to blame the market, but if you actually improve the efficiencies of your business, you'll gain 3, 4, 5%, which is considerable. And I think it's important. And we're good at some things. We're not good at everything. But don't be afraid to pay for somebody to do something they're better at than you are.
Yep.
And take good advice. But it's like everything else. I always say to people that I'm going into business with or giving me a service, you must give me a return on the capital.
Sorry, John, on you go.
You're making it sound real simple, right? And what you've explained there's a lot of complexities throughout, right? 2 things, Malcolm. It's taken my mind back to the start of the conversation where you witnessed, or your neighbouring farms were cutting down Christmas trees, making a bit of it, and then you thought, actually, further down the chain there, we could probably make more by growing the trees, etc. So that kind of circular economy thing starts to embed. And what you've just talked about there with regards to the production facility that you did, you've then evolved that into different products and waste products being then reused in a way that can be then commercially profitable. That's two. I said two, but three would be that whole biomass journey must have been incredibly difficult because of multiple different factors. One is competition that you said you're not scared of.
Yeah.
The RHI came in, and that was difficult for a lot of people to navigate, not only the end customer, but the investment partners who were building the infrastructure to support the biomass business. And then, ensuring that there is a market for that. And lots of things need to happen for the market to be there to buy the boilers, to then buy the fuel, etc., etc. So that whole navigation for your business must have been like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? And how did you cope with that? And
well, I think it's very interesting, some of the points you've raised there. Of course, when the RHIs come out, it kind of supports the market a bit, initially for the sales of the biomass boilers. They're an artificial price because they're a third of that now, so you have to manoeuvre around that. And initially when I came into the market and you're wanting to buy timber, well, you have all the regular forestry businesses that, you're another person that's come in, you're just going to last for 2 or 3 years, you're a bit of a pain. And they said to me, and I started going in and trying to buy quantities of timber because I was thinking, right, what am I doing over the next 2 and 4 years? And of course, there was a bidding process through Scottish Forestry. So obviously, I got my fingers burnt the first couple of times. My bids weren't even accepted. So I thought to myself, right, how do I overcome this? And then about 20 miles away from me, I saw a forest came up for sale. So I went back to the bank and I said, look, I need to secure this. Would you lend me the money to buy this forest? So I bought the forest. And of course, I put my bid in at 5 to 12 and nobody was expecting me in there. The big guys were expecting just to buy it between themselves. And they probably had a coffee and a tea at the local garage and says, right, we're having this, you're having this. And so I secured the fuel for my business. So then I'm able to cut it down when I want. And now the roles have reversed after 10 years. I get a phone call every day, somebody trying to sell me timber.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And once you start, I have to give one accolade to David Leslie from James Jones, biggest sawmiller in Europe and the world, and has been very kind to a very, very small provincial business in the north of Scotland and has gone out of his way to help us.
Good.
And there are other people like that, and I can't name everybody, but there's other people that we invite now to our business and show them what we're doing. And I want to see it as a benchmark for small sawmilling business and an efficient business and a profitable business because, and somebody said to me, you're just driven by money. And that's not further from the truth. I'm driven by success. Money's a byproduct of it. Sometimes you have it and sometimes you don't. But it's like Mr. McCobber said, if you make £1, spend 99p. And that's what I do. I've always got a wee bit put by when we have that rainy day. So that's how I do my business. But I'll pay my bills and make sure everybody else gets a cut as well. I have no problem somebody else getting a margin as long as they deliver a good product.
And was COVID a good period for your business because folk were investing and doing up gardens and different infrastructure projects around the UK?
We carried on. Yeah. We were an outside business. I followed all the rules, as you do, but it was a good opportunity. And we developed the business. It didn't hold us back.
Good.
And people came to work. And we have quite a bit of business to business, but we also have a lot of business to customers, and we do a lot of deliveries and we're helping people. But also the guys are really very good because when you're delivering winter fuel to people, whether it be kindling or logs and things like that, not everybody is as well off as us. And some people do struggle and have a challenge. But the boys, if they see any of that, they'll have a word with me and say, I think we need to help somebody. And that goes on. And that's the sort of business I want, because in your local community, if anybody's struggling, you should help them without asking or saying any questions. That's important.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that, and equally glad to hear that COVID didn't hold you back in any way, enabled you to just spring on and give us a sense of the scale of that business now, Malcolm, whether it's headcount, what are your plans and objectives for that business over the next couple of years?
Well, I would say in 2016 there was 1.5 of us, one full-time man and half FTE, as you would call it.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 10 full-time.
Good.
And we have 4 part-timers. Okay. So I would like to continue and develop it. I'm very keen to take it to the next level, which would be, I'd like to start making passive housing and build. I would like to partner with Highland Council, because there's a lot of people in the Highlands can't afford housing, so it's so expensive. And since COVID, the point you've made is to build a house now is nearly 400,000. No young person can get a mortgage and get a deposit for all that. And I'd like to be able to develop that and use the resources we have in the Highlands and in Scotland to actually build something and do something positive. I can't solve the housing crisis, but I could help small villages, local people have affordable housing and do it in a very partnership way. That's what I would like to do to take the business to the next level, because I think it can manage it. But obviously, you've got there's barriers for a small business like that. We've got to get to procurement levels. We've got to be able to be accepted. We've got to reach a certain standard. And I think we can do that. Mm-hmm. But it would be a step up for this business. But I think it's a challenge worth taking on.
Mm-hmm. When you mentioned passive houses, would that be in a modular house format type thing?
Exactly.
I kind of had a wee view on modular housing. I think it's fantastic. I think it could be implemented. And I think it's been stagnated a wee bit with the commercialisation from the big companies trying to do it, because it doesn't make enough.
Yeah.
Right. But what you've just described there, if you take that into an environment where you didn't have to do 200 or 100, you could do 12 or 6, which would make a massive percentage difference in a local community. Then it is kind of scalable to that certain level, but it's kind of been, stalled a wee bit because it's just not commercially viable for the big developers to actually do it.
That's exactly it, and there's a lot of organisations would like somebody to, but they've got to break our barriers down and let us in and actually say, are you serious? Like trial 1 or 2, and probably what I'm going to end up having to do is build one for myself and then use it as a showroom.
Aye.
And then convince people that I can do it.
And what is excuse my ignorance, right? I know what modular is because, we deal with modular products in the sector that we serve, but what's a modular house?
Well, it's basically something, if you wanted a 1-bedroom house, or a 2-bedroom house or a 3-bedroom house, basically the modules just click together like Lego.
Right. Okay.
But you do it in a way that it's not like ugly, because in 50 or 60 years ago, like woolen mills all over Scotland and other areas, they would have rows of council houses or workers' houses. But you've got to give them character. You've got to give them light. You've got to make them feel as though they're modern and well insulated as well. But also, I sometimes think things are too well insulated at times. You've got to let people breathe. So that would be, an opportunity.
Right, okay.
And they're built within a controlled environment normally, as opposed to a traditional build, which is quite expensive, and you're at the mercy of the elements as well to, slow or speed up that build process. But if it's done in a factory environment, it's controlled, it's quality, it's good working environments. And you, as you say, you just modulise these and bolt them together so that it can be a 1-bedroom, it could be a 2-bedroom, it could be a 3-bedroom. It's just the modularisation, like a Lego kit, really.
Right, okay, interesting. And you're saying that the barrier to that being realised for local communities maybe in the Highlands is that your stereotypical house builder is just, they have a particular margin, they want to hit that margin.
Yeah.
And it's all, I don't want to say it's slapdash, right? But for some of them, it certainly is slapdash, where you get into a new build estate and it's like every one of them, it's the same. That character piece you spoke about, maybe it's just a personal preference. I feel like new build estates often in Scotland lack a bit of character. They're just mirrored 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And you get inside them and the inside of them's all the exact same as well.
It's like enough space for your wheelie bin to go up and down beside your neighbour. And I would like to give somebody a garden for their kids. You know, these sorts of things, and plan it, you know, and make it a good place to live. But use all the raw materials that are grown in Scotland and actually make it cost effective and do it locally, because it's the distance from market, because there's a lot of remote areas in Scotland and they all need housing.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot going on, and it's just opportunities. So,
and you mentioned earlier that you do both that business services, both B2B and B2C. Is B2B the majority?
No, it's probably 50-50.
Ah, right, okay. And how do you find new customers? Do they find you more often than not, or are you proactively marketing the business?
Well, everybody I talk to, I tell them about my business. I'd use a lot of reverse psychology. I don't oversell. I tend to undersell, because I believe that, you know, leave them with an idea or a message. And sometimes, you know, some people will be cheaper around us and they will maybe leave you, but they always come back, because we give a good service and good products, and we try and manage their expectations. I think, you know, there's one or two limiting factors in growing your business, and you've got to overcome them. And just now, there's one big issue for us as a business is the amount of electricity we use. So my challenge again is that we got 3-phase put into the business, and dealing with utility companies and metering companies is huge for everyone. But we decided then, right, we put solar in, and we've managed to do that, and I would like to do more of that. But also, you know, the amount of diesel we're using for deliveries, because we're in a remote area. And now, you know, I'm actually looking at, and I don't agree with this in principle, but we have to address it, is moving towards electric vehicles and trying to, you know, reduce our greenhouse gases, because that's what the Scottish Government, Scottish enterprise want us to do. I think there's varying challenges in all that. But if I can, again, reduce costs there, that's something else I'd like to do. And other customers, although my business is in the north of Scotland and I live in the south of Scotland, that might seem bizarre, but there's reasons for that. But one of my local hauliers passed my farm, and I saw him, and I said to myself, what's he doing? So he had actually a Scottish contract for delivering gas tanks all over Scotland.
Right.
So every time he's in the north of Scotland, he picks up a load of wood out of our business
On the way back.
and delivers it in the south. And that is all about the circular economy and speaking to somebody.
Yeah.
And now he says he has a business and he sells wood, and can I get supplied? And I'm supplying other people all over. So I kind of manage it, but I try probably, that's something else that I really need to look at, is how I take the next step of growth, because I wouldn't like to grow that fast that I couldn't cope with the orders, and my staff couldn't cope with it. So we've got to look at our capabilities and then take the next step and manage it quite well, because people have to enjoy their work.
Aye.
And if you actually force them into a position where their deadlines are so great, how can they enjoy their work?
We've definitely fell foul of that before in our own business, where, you know, that example you gave where in 2016 there was, you know, me and half a body almost. I think when it's just the owners almost try to get it going, you work at such a velocity and you have so much desire to succeed that it's like, I'll do 23 hours of work a day if I need to get it to where I'm trying to get it to.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh, things are going quite well still. Why don't we bring a wee team member in? And then you bring another before you know it, you've got a team. Sometimes we fell foul of forgetting that they actually have no desire to work at the same velocity as you. You know, they just want to come in the morning, enjoy a wee coffee, do a right good day's work.
Yeah.
But then leave at 5, 6 o'clock and completely forget about it to the next day. And that was me for 20 years, you know. So I'm not talking down in that in any way, shape or form. But we fell foul sometimes. You're going, well, we just need to get that next level of growth. So let's bring the orders in and we'll just figure out how we do it. And then the team are looking at you like, really, this is what you're piling on to me? And you're like, oh, aye, sorry, like, forget that you don't maybe have an interest at running at that same velocity that we've been for 2-3 years to get us to that point. So I can definitely empathise a lot with that. And we're probably in that transitional period now that we have a team of like, right, actually we can't just be talking about something in the morning and then doing it that night. There needs to be a plan around how do people know about it, what systems do we use, how do they get briefed on it, which has pros and cons. Sometimes I do miss the days of breakfast bar working where you have an idea in the morning and you're selling it at night and just we'll figure it out as we go.
The crucial thing there is to understand what drives that individual that works for you, and then manage your own expectation. And that's just communication, and you understand that. And you'll have somebody will come on board with you and you'll not be able to hold them back, and take that, be on the ride with them, but they're going to go and run their own business sometime.
Aye.
And then when they actually do leave, don't be upset about it. Actually say, well, I've done something really good here.
Aye.
Actually, because that's the way I look at it. If somebody says to me, look, I would like to go, well, good, but make sure you're making the right choice for yourself.
Aye. Again, recently can empathise with that, and definitely need to get better at recognising it. It's not personal in any way. Like, I myself, again, in my 20-year career, hopped probably every 15, 18 months.
Yeah.
So it's not a personal thing. I do take it quite personally. I think sometimes when I get that resignation letter and I'm like, oh, we need to start again. But aye, all part of the journey I've been on business, I guess. So you've got, and I got the acronym of that business name incorrect at the start at the show. Remind me again the acronym.
GMG Energy.
GMG Energy. And what does that stand for?
Well, actually, it was taken with the three partners in the business at the beginning.
Right, okay.
And it was the surnames.
Ah, right, okay.
So, but you'll have seen the colour of it, and you'll have seen the things of it, and it's just it was based off the old Bayern Munich badge.
Right, okay. Aye.
That's what we based it on. Right, you know. So it was something like that. But no, I mean, branding's a really interesting thing, because we were talking about it last week, because we're thinking of starting another business, and it's just, you can overthink it.
Aye.
And we're wondering, what should we call this new business? And and some people say, well, you just call it your name, and then or letters or something else. But because the great businesses are very short, very sweet, and we look at them, and every single person uses it. And it's very interesting how the mind works.
And you don't have partners in the business now? Is it just yourself?
No, I do.
You do?
I do have a partner in the business, but he runs the other side of the business. We opened a business in Boston, in northeast Lincolnshire.
Ah, right, okay.
And he runs that there independently. But we started the business together, and we are our own people, but we work together because of our experience. We've been together for 10 years, working, but we do our own individual things.
Got you.
But, I always think it's important to build relationships in business and try and keep them if you've both got different talents. And that's what we do. We're better at one or two other things.
Aye. I asked that because that's an interesting conversation at this table, actually. Clearly, we're bought into partnership. Just myself, John, and our other business partner, Barry. But actually, I think, so let me get this right. I think you're guest number 44, 45, something around that. And the vast, vast majority of people that sit across from the table always say, don't get into business with partners. It's the wrong thing to do. You want to be calling the shots. You want to be master of your own destiny. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I don't know any different, so I don't really have a comparison to make, but I can't imagine doing it myself.
I think, it's like any marriage, and it doesn't matter where you go or where you start. Everybody has qualities. And everybody has strengths, everybody has weaknesses. But you have to be able to consider other people if you want a partnership. So if you want to go alone and it falls on your shoulders, then you're limiting the learning. And you have to be looking outward all the time, because sometimes you just need to phone somebody or have a chat with them and say, I'm thinking about this, how should we deal with it? And it's just a reassurance on both sides. There are sometimes, my accountant always said to me, when you set up a business or a partnership, have you worked out your exit strategy? And I think that's really important with being in business with somebody who did want to leave through personal reasons and medical reasons. Then you have to have the finance to do that. And don't take great exception to it. And you want to have good leavers, not bad leavers.
Yep.
That's the crucial thing. And I think if you're a dictator, you're better being on your own. If you can actually listen to other people and actually compromise, you can have a partnership.
Aye.
And it is all about your own learning and how you develop.
Aye.
If you want to be a captain of the ship and nobody else can have a decision, run the business on your own.
Yeah.
But if you want to share things and share views, because also you've got to give your staff a hearing. And actually some of them are smarter than you. Maybe they don't want to take the risk or anything else, but some of them are exceptionally bright and really can deliver.
Aye. I think that's a common misconception in business, especially among people that aren't in business. They assume that the owner / entrepreneur is like the smartest guy or girl in the room, when actually, like, for me in particular, it honestly could not be further for the truth. Like, to your point, I have stuff that I'm really good at, like big picture thinking, ideas, but sometimes the execution of it or just the discipline to make it happen, I just suck at, on occasion. But I do think that's a common misconception that, you're the leader or the owner because you're the smartest. It's like, no, I'm believe me when I say I'm not the smartest. There's many people in the room smarter than me.
You're right, though. It depends on the individual. If you've got that headstrong, that person who just wants it the way, then it needs to be, individual. But in our environment and our company, it works. It just it's healthy for the business. We feel it because we help each other. And it also opens our minds to different things that we can bring to the table, and we can work them out to say, yeah, that let's concentrate on that or not.
I think going back to business and the number of businesses I'm involved with, I'm quite happy to have a percentage. I don't need 100%. So I would rather have 10% of something than 100% of nothing.
Yep.
And I quite like the idea. Over the years, things have developed with me, and I've built the businesses up. But I've got passive income from a number of businesses. And that allows me to take risks in other things. So I can do one or two safe, secure businesses that I spend this, I get this return. And then it allows you to do the higher risks things. And that's the way I've done things, very quietly and effectively. And because some of my neighbours in Thornhill say, Malcolm, what is it that you do for a living? And I said, well, I don't, and I quite like that because I do a number of things. I'm happy to help, but they don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
And for some of your listeners, right, that are in business, I thinking I quite like the idea of maybe taking a bit of a small equity share in a wee business here and adding a bunch of value, and a small equity share in a business here and adding a bunch of value, and I have my core trading business here, which is my cash vehicle. How did they go about doing that, or how did you go about doing that? Is it just getting into relationships with individuals and demonstrating that you can add value and trying to negotiate a position of equity, or is it buying your way in?
Well, I have to say that it probably started through my relationships with people. I have an interest in Growers Garden, which produces vegetable crisps. But there's a number of shareholders in that, and that has to say has been a tough business because you're in the food industry. But again, I've managed to influence it in a small way to get the right people in the right positions. And the business is starting to grow. So we're in Tesco's now, and we were in 54 stores with our cauliflower chips and our broccoli chips, and now we're going into 109 Tesco stores with our lentil chips with a real tartan occasion on it towards the World Cup.
Good.
An opportunity again where the last few years I had a couple of friends who were in the caravan business, and I said to them, there's an opportunity on the North Coast 500.
Yeah.
And so we have now a beautiful caravan park over a beach. We've all invested some money in it, and we've got pitches for 30 mobile homes. And this is our second full year, and the bookings are fantastic.
It looks amazing.
Good.
And that was an opportunity between three guys having a pint.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it just took the ideas and somebody with a bit of but what I would say is we've had a partnership there, but we've had challenges within that and different views from different people and different characters.
Mm-hmm.
My farming business has been with just with my boys, so that's easier because it's family. And we also years ago we started buying property, and we've built up, myself and my two sons, we've built up a property business and buy-to-lets, but we've used the same profile all the time, and that has become a business that we're all involved with, but again it's passive income. And we take the opportunity along, but we've partnered up with a local joiner and electrician to support that. So people are successful in business, but you cannot be successful on your own. You've got to have a team. You've got to have people that trust you, and you've got to have people that you pay to do work for you and actually are happy with you.
Yeah.
And you have to touch so many people on your journey. And I keep saying to folk, I says, my mother loves me, I'm doing okay. So, but you need to have 8 out of 10 cat owners loving you.
Yeah.
And be kind. And if you are successful, it's quite easy to be kind to people rather than being saying, I need more.
Aye. Yeah. I think that point around I'm asked quite a lot, like, what happens when you're in partnership and there's like contention? You can't make a decision because John wants it one way, I want it one way, Barry wants it one way. And I can honestly say in the 4 years that I had with Barry and the last year that I've had with John, I genuinely can't recall a single situation where it's came to a point where it's like people are storming out of the room because you can't make a decision on anything. I think if you're good with people, you just get an innate sense that he feels quite strongly about this. I'm actually not overly arsed, so let's just back it, but actually back it. None of this like, well, that didn't work out, and I told you, and because that's just not going to serve anybody. Do you know, it's like you get behind it either works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, well, we all got behind it and it didn't work out, so let's move on to the next thing. I just think reading the room, it's like you can read the room, and if somebody's really passionate about something, cool, let's get a try. Why not?
I think if that's going to happen, it'll probably happen quite quickly. Mm-hmm. Within probably months, you would get that. Oh my gosh, what have I done? But the longer it kind of goes on, you kind of manage to use it to your advantage, probably. And what I said before, you kind of use people's skills a bit, and then flesh things out to say, well, actually, this is probably the better direction. Are we all in agreement? Yes, we are. Right, that's 3 of us. Charge and we'll do it.
And I think that's the right approach as well, because you have to do it in such a way that how does it impact our balance sheet, and our cash flow and actually our revenue. And if it's too high risk, don't do it, because you have to have everybody on board, unless you all think, let's take it, let's go for it, this is going to work. And I think always having a good accountant or a good lawyer behind you, if there's anything that's arbitrary, you can just sit down and say, look, we've got this idea, we've got a couple of different views on it, what do you think? And that was really good for being in the bank, because you mitigated all the time. I had guys in risk sitting saying, what have you mitigated? What if this goes wrong? What if this goes wrong? So you had to have 4 or 5 excuses of, if this is going to go wrong, you've got to look at it. If you're going to risk everything, the return must be fabulous.
Yeah.
But I would say, it has to be always measured.
Aye. Small incremental risks rather than, well, you said earlier you don't ever put the house in the line, but you don't want to be losing the house over a crazy risk. Do you know? Like,
no, I think that's a golden rule, because you've got that place of refuge to go home.
Aye.
Family, friends, brothers, sisters.
I actually just think it's no fair either, because we as entrepreneurs decide that, right, we're going to take it. And as much as that is a family decision, it's like they're no deciding to roll that dice. You are ultimately, they support you for the sidelines, of course, and you can't do it without them and all of that jazz, but it is you that's taking the risk. I just don't feel like that's a fair thing to do, to get a wee PG to get a bit of cash so that you can roll the dice on something and then suddenly they're out in the street. It just feels quite unfair to me. So aye, you don't need to convince us on that front. We're aligned. So we touched briefly, Malcolm, just on future plans, but and I don't like to lay it out to go, what does the next 3 years look like? But what's your intentions for your primary trading business that you've spoke about today over the coming years? Is it still just incremental growth, keep doing your thing, or have you got anything else that's maybe a bit drastic up your sleeve?
Well, I'm definitely going to concentrate, on my renewables business and improve the efficiencies and have incremental growth. I would like to do that and increase the profitability, because there are challenges all around us, just from the economy alone, and we could talk about that all day. So I have to try and mitigate that. That's what I've got to think about. The other businesses that I have, I'm going to continue with them. But recently, I did something very dynamic. I took a trip to China.
Oh, lovely.
And through another acquaintance that I met, I've now spent a bit of time there and looking at manufacturing there, looking at products. And I've been there a couple of times before, and I always felt, it's very basic. It's fundamentally, the quality's not there. But this time I got my eyes opened, and there's an awful lot of products getting made out there which are very well made, to a very high standard, and to very good certification. So I would like to, we were actually this coming week, we were going to put our first order in, and it's been put on hold, obviously, because we can't get a carrier to actually give us a cost, a shipping cost.
Because of what's happening
in the world.
Right.
So I was actually, and somebody said to me, why do you want to do this? And I said, well, it's a challenge, and also it can influence my other businesses, because there's a lot of the equipment out there for my sawmill, also for our crisp manufacturing, also property, building houses, that I can buy things out there actually that can supplement the businesses here. And I also wanted to start doing a bit of trading. And it's just, I thought, well, I've done it locally, I've done it in Scotland, why can't I do it on a bigger stage? So, and I'm doing that personally because I think people around me, my family now, say to me, oh, come on, can you not just think, you're 61, is it not about time you're winding down? And I have a joy of life. I'm very privileged. I'm well.
It's just not how we're built.
I know.
Entrepreneurs just done it. Do you know, even when I was in my corporate job, and I'm talking like in my mid-30s, my wife would say, why are you always pushing for that next like, you know, like, we're fine, but we've got enough money coming in. I'm a teacher, you're doing really well. Why are you always pushing to take on more and do more hours and try and get more money? I'm like, I don't know. It's just the way I'm built. I can't help it. I wish I could just be happy and settled and stop. But, you know, you spoke earlier about the old exit strategy, and we had a session back end of last year between me, John, and our other business partner. So it was a bit like therapy almost. It was like, right, we all better get aligned on what this exit strategy is here, so that if it happens, you've not got one going, well, I'm not quite ready yet, and the other two are like, well, we've got the parachutes, we're ready to rock. But I know that if we achieve that, on maybe no day two, I'll maybe give myself a couple of weeks off, but you'll be looking for the next thing. I'm not going to be like, oh, well, I'm 40 now, I better retire and, you know, hit the beach.
This morning on my way here, I stopped and bought a coffee, and when you have an early start, you need a coffee. And I was standing to a chat. I says, "How are you today?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm fine." He says, "I'm retired. I'm not doing anything." And I said, "All right." And my thought process is, I said to him, "You got to do something." He says, "No, I don't want to do anything." And I'm very happy to be here. I think it's great to meet new people, chat about things, reflect on things, and but no, my wife and family now say to me, "Can we not just relax and enjoy it?" And I says, "I am, but I need to be doing something."
Aye, I get that. I completely understand that, and that's exciting. What was China like in the couple of days that you've been out?
I think it's very interesting the way the people approach. Their approach to English is much better, and they're very generous. Food was fantastic. Their infrastructure's amazing.
I bet.
I mean, 48,000 kilometres of railway being built in the last 10 years. Everybody's working the understanding, the social support. You get support for 4 weeks if you don't have a job, and then you're straight into work. I mean, okay, I do realise that wages are less, and there's a lot of people working there, there's a lot of people living there, but also their energy costs are so low, and that's what makes the difference. I mean, we're supposed to have this renewable generation in the UK, and we've got the most expensive electricity
on earth.
Oh yes,
none.
And nobody can understand it. And the more expensive it gets, and the manufacturing is all happening out there. And I was in a new factory, met the owner with his family. He's not paying business rates for the first 5 years.
Oh, God.
He is taxed at 20% on his profit for the first 5 years till he builds up the number of people there, and he gets support to get going. They're giving them opportunities, supporting them to grow the business, to grow sales, and he was showing me his stock, and it was really impressive, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Aye.
I've experienced that through telecommunications. So I was in China for quite a bit, working with Motorola.
Yeah.
And when they were setting up their factories across there, very, very high spec, clean rooms, lab environment, production high quality and stuff like that. But they had that whole integration with regards to, okay, who's going to work in these factories? So they would have the Motorola University would be connected to a local university, and they would do the education for the young people coming through, teach them on how to do things academically, but also practically as well. And then they had accommodation schemes as well, so people could live close to the factory, and it was just kind of thought out, properly thought out. But the benefit to the individuals working in the factories was huge, not just financial pay, but the fringe benefits around them to support them. It was just done really, really well.
Look, I tried really hard to just be happy for almost like as you're laying that out and going, they're nailing that, 20% for the first 5 years. I try to just be pleased for them, but I can't help but it just annoys me when I hear that, and I look at what's happening in the UK, and I tried really hard to just ignore all of that and just forge my own path, create your own wee economy. You can't control the government, so just really focus on making sure that your business does well. But you do reach a point where you're like, why? It just doesn't make sense. A lot of the times it's like, it feels like there's a complete smash and grab rather than we understand that small to medium enterprises in particular are literally the backbone of the economy. We need to help them. It just feels like they're doing the opposite of that. It really does. I don't understand it. I really struggle grappling with how the government can't just see what's happening and how it's all unfolding.
And it's a great challenge for the SMEs and the small businesses who are doing everything you say. And last year, obviously the national insurance contributions rise. That was a big thing. This year, it's the pressure on us for business rates. It's the pressures on us for utilities. And we see businesses all around us. We're wondering why our restaurants only open 3 days a week. Mm-hmm. All these things, and minimum wage, and then everybody's getting more entitlement and more entitlement. And we are trying to employ more people and we need more incentives. Mm-hmm. We need the opportunity to drive the economy. And we could look at the amount of people who are being supported and how long for and how much. Well, why not tax that as well? Mm-hmm. Because if you're not going to work and add to the economy, then that should be taxed. But we could debate it, and we're getting into the line on the business against politics. And I have strong views on it. And there is not enough accountability. And we need to get people to come to work and be a person and really be positive about things. Mm-hmm. And not say to folk, well, it's okay to sit at home for 4 days and think you're working. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in it. I think the social interaction, everything for young people and growing, it's much better to, we said earlier, to have a chat about things. Aye. To share things. And, there's just too many things not happening correctly. There's an imbalance. And when you swing away to the left or swing away to the right, and I'm talking about extreme things happening, mm-hmm. you have really negative responses. Mm-hmm. We need to have a balance. And the simple things like getting, the fundamental thing that people like just now, if we could get all our potholes filled, mm-hmm. that's what we talk about. Mm-hmm. Not about how well all the businesses are doing. I mean, that's the level we're at. We're sticking cones in them, posters in them. I mean, I came up past one just now and there was a 5-gallon drum sitting in one. Aye. I mean, you don't see that in other countries. Mm-hmm. It's very simple things. And I mean, maybe it's a debate for another day, but...
No, listen, I love hearing how passionate you're about it because I've always said it. I actually don't, it's not the tax I have an issue with, actually, and taxes increasing, right? There is a line there, but it's not actually that bothers me. It's the increase in taxation, but the decrease through my lens, certainly, of you name the public service, right? You name it, and the standards are way down versus where they were 10 years ago, whether it's policing, teaching, hospitals, potholes, like you name it, and we're not in a better place than we were, despite the taxes going up and up and up. So it's not actually the tax, it's like they're looking at the tax on one hand and then looking at what we're getting for it and going, there's something amiss here, like there really is. But as you say, we could probably, have maybe we should have a dedicated Risking It All podcast trying to right the wrongs in the world.
I'm going to talk about geography a wee second on your businesses, right? So we started at Duke Street, West End of Glasgow, then you had the Sutherland, nearly Thurso area, I guess, Caithness and Sutherland. The business grows market down probably Coburn's Path, Dunbar Way.
Over in Fife.
In Fife, okay then. And then your home down in Dumfries and Galloway, and you mentioned Lincolnshire as well, down in Boston.
Well, as I mentioned before, the bank took me to Carlisle and Dumfries, into that area, and my boys and myself, and then unfortunately I lost my wife. But these things happen, and we've all have tragedies in our life, one way or the other. But always you've got to move on from that. And then something very special happened, and I met another lady, and that's Shona. And Shona was widowed, and she had 3 sons, and she's quite an entrepreneur as well.
Oh, good.
Because after her husband passed away, she kept the farm running for her boys. She had a dairy farm. and they were still at school then. And I actually met Shona through business, and she ended up being in one of my groups, my business groups.
Right, okay.
And but I keep saying to everybody, she never listened to me at all. But she was in my first ladies group, and it was called the Lambs. Ladies always mean business. And you know, I was on my own, and she had been on her own for 10 years, and we got together, and we pulled together a blended family. And that was a challenge, but it's turned out fantastic. We live in Thornhill together. The boys are all farming on her side, apart from our oldest boy, who's a lawyer down south. And they've done very well and grown their business. And now we have grandchildren. And I'm very settled in Dumfries and Galloway. I love it. It's a great place to live. I've got farming connections there. My mum and my stepdad are living in Thurso, and I see them regularly. I'm up there every 2 weeks. And Scotland's not a big place, but I get up early and I go. And through my banking experience, that's how other opportunities have come along. And my partner down in Lincolnshire, I met him through something happening in Scotland, and there was an opportunity came up. And that's how it's all evolved, John, you know. And I just find now, I just think having experience, having the maturity, you think, well, geography shouldn't be your boundary.
Not at all.
There's other opportunities you can go. I have other things that can be done in other parts of the world, and I'm quite happy to give it a go.
Yeah.
And that's really the background of all that. And I think a lot of it, it's just not all business, it's part of life as well. And, you know, you have big setbacks in your life, but you've got to embrace that and recover from it and go again. And it's the strength of your will.
I was going to ask you about that, right? So, you know, clearly you're now a highly successful entrepreneur, right? Having spent an hour and a bit with you and talking to you, I think that's abundantly clear, right? But I know what comes with that along the way is, well, you touched on it earlier, you've made so many mistakes that, you know, you could fill a room with them. And sometimes I feel like the fear of getting it wrong actually holds business owners back. It's almost like they've taken the ultimate risk to get in. And then somewhere along the path, you just, I don't know whether it is an age thing where your risk appetite maybe just decreases a bit and you think, right, I just need to protect what I've got now. What's your viewpoint on that? Do you feel like business owners need to continually be taking a bit of risk to try and charge on to that next level? Or do you think it's actually quite sensible that once you get to a certain age or period in life, because it's maybe not even always about age, that you go, actually, let's just protect what we've created now?
That's a really good question, and I think it's down to personal circumstance. Now, we've talked about, you know, keep growing, and I'm not going to sell the business. I'm going to have this growth, but having a business on my farm, I'm not going to sell my farm because I was handed my farm and I've left it to my boys. So the business will stay there. But I have other business interests, and I would say I would like an exit from them because one or two of them I've invested them, and I've thought to myself, I'll either do a 5 to 8 year investment period and then I'll step back and let somebody either buy my shares or one of the other partners do that. And I think there'll be other opportunities that will come along and I'll need to have a go at that. The amount of risk you want to take, I think, is really down to the person and their ability, and also, but I would say now, you know, if you've been successful, I think everybody then takes measured risk and take good advice. But also, there are some things that are high risk, and if you can afford to lose it, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put everything on the line. I wouldn't play poker with everything you've got.
Aye. A lot of the times I think it's not even about the financial risk. I think sometimes people get held back through fear of failure and what others might think or say, whether it's family, friends, neighbours. Have you experienced some of that where...
Very much. I would say that I'm not afraid of what other people think of me. I'm actually, I can walk into a room and not know anybody and walk over and introduce myself and talk to somebody. A lot of people can't do that. And I've got things that I'm doing just now that other people might not like or might not approve of, but it's all in business. But no, there are, I think, I have to say, if my mother says to me, I'm not impressed, or my wife says to me, I'm not impressed, or one of my boys said to me, I'm not impressed, I would stop and think.
Right.
But
everything else is noise.
Yes. And I find it, you listen to people and it was about the number of people who are doing SMEs and working in their own businesses. And then you see people who have maybe worked within government or local business, local councils and things like that all their lives. And they have a very strong opinion on what you're doing. And then they talk about risk. Well, they've never had a risk. And but I don't come out or call them out. I just listen. And I just say, well, you've had security. You've got a final salary pension. That's it.
Aye.
You've had 6 or 9 months off because you needed a new knee and on full pay. Now, that's part of life and we need to have people who are doing that. But if you're a self-employed person and you're out because you're out getting a new knee, unless you've got a big insurance policy covering it, which you've paid for a number of years, you're not earning.
You're working.
That's right.
In pain or no pain, you're working. Aye, like.
So there's these sorts of things, So I think I would say initially when I was younger, you do care what people think because nobody likes to be spoken ill of. But now, as you've said, it is noise.
Aye. I found it when we were in the height of that whole people being really opinionated about homeworking, no homeworking, loads of people on platforms like LinkedIn that are employed, employers are a disgrace and they should be doing this and they shouldn't be doing this. And it's like, well, give it a try yourself, and then by all means hold your strong opinion. But when you're protected by some of the things that you've mentioned, like, just be thankful for it. In the same way that I was in the 20 years when I worked for other people. But, we still to this day, we have a nightmare trying to get, anytime we're hiring, typically people in the market, the digital marketing space are of a particular generation, which is fine. We need that young, smart talent in our business. Trying to get them to commit to coming into a bloody office for 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Like we've spoke to people who have at the start of the call said, I'm unemployed at the minute, I've left my last place or the contract ended and great, we need somebody straight away and I need to come into the office 3 days a week. Nah, no for me. I'm like, did you not just say you didn't have a job? Aye, but it's not for me. I can't come into an office 3 days a week. I'm like, I feel like I say this all the time now, but my mum would have been battering down the stairs like, get your arse out of this house. And any job that will take you till you get money coming in the door and then you can start being picky and choosy about what you do, what to do and don't want to do. But here we go, I'm ranting. I feel like I rant about this in every podcast now. But
no, I think, because I was asked to speak at an accountant's business meeting and they asked me to talk about what do you think about working at home. And I says, look, I'm going to be controversial about this and I'm going to give you my real opinion. And I says, you're hiding at home. And I said, until you integrate. And I said, there are some people that should maybe go home and do a project for 1 day a week and they're getting the real benefit. They need the quiet. They don't need the distraction. But I said, generally, we had a young accountant who was with one of the big four, couldn't pass his exams. He was working from home. And we had to get a bit of help for him from an independent accountant to support him to get him through his exams because he had no peers around him because he was told to work at home. That's not development.
Aye.
And how do manufacturing companies let people work at home? If you're building something, you're making something.
Aye.
All these things. And I mean, we need that to generate, and all these coffee sandwich shops, that's not going to work. They're all closing down. Our town centres are dead everywhere in Scotland.
Aye.
It is a challenge.
I feel like when I'm in a coffee shop, in inverted commas, working, I still feel like I can't do a proper shift because it's like you're taking private phone calls, and I just feel a bit like there's people ordering about me. I can tap the keyboard and do light work, pretend to work is what I'm trying to say without saying
You can
it.
read your emails.
But you can't do a shift as far as I'm concerned. But well, listen, time is up. Unfortunately, we could sit and blather at you all day long. I've thoroughly enjoyed the catch up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for travelling in today. This episode will be out in a few weeks' time. Thanks to everybody for listening and watching as always. If anyone has been listening and they think, right, actually I could do a bit of business with Malcolm, where's the easiest place for them to find you?
They can, at the end of the phone, you can put my number up, but if they give me an email, that'd be great.
Cool. Okay, well, lovely. Thank you. And as always, if you've not yet subscribed and followed our socials, our YouTube channel, our Spotify channel, then please take a minute out of your day to go ahead and do that. We appreciate it more than you'll ever know. And we'll be back in another few weeks with another episode. Thanks again.
Thanks, Malcolm. That was great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.